going back to William Hearst, um, if I remember correctly, he did try to run for political office, and that was an ambition of his. What was his political orientation? And did he strongly oppose Roosevelt? Was that a personal issue? Was it a philosophical issue? Was it more about making more money for the newspapers and big headlines that people would buy the newspapers?
I think it was ideological for him. He's a fascinating figure. He had a very long career. And when he started out, he moved to New York to start his newspaper there in the 1890s. So he had this long history in newspapers. He started out as quite a populist press baron. He was a Democrat, and he did run for office, governor of New York, I believe mayor of New York, unsuccessfully. He did serve in Congress briefly as this populist Democrat, and he advocated for more regulation of business and for a bigger role for the government in the economy. But however, by the 1920s, after the Bolshevik Revolution, he really became much more conservative. He became very alarmed by communism. And so he began endorsing Republican presidential candidates because he believed that they had a stronger stance against communism than the Democrats. Then when Roosevelt ran in 1932, Hearst briefly switched back to the Democratic Party and was strongly for Roosevelt, believed that he could turn the country around in the Great Depression, and supported him for, up to about 2 years. And then he turned abruptly against Roosevelt, mainly because of Roosevelt's labor policies and his tax policies. But Roosevelt started adopting policies that encouraged unionization. And Hearst abhorred this. He believed that, unionization was just one step on the road to communism. And he particularly hated it when the unions were organizing people in his newsrooms. He also really hated Roosevelt's progressive tax policies, where starting in 1935 and 36, Roosevelt called for higher taxes on the very richest Americans, like the top 50 earners, which included Hearst. And so he was very angry about that. So he started calling Roosevelt Stalin. Delano Roosevelt said that his policies were essentially communistic, that he was encouraging communism throughout the United States and would eventually turn the United States into a communist dictatorship. And it doesn't appear to be strategic on his part. In fact, he started losing circulation when he became so strident and, quite frankly, so absurdly opposed to Roosevelt, who was in many ways a very moderate Democrat, well, a liberal Democrat, but somebody who definitely wanted to save capitalism from communism. And so there started to be boycotts of Hearst newspapers. He started to lose circulation. So it wasn't in his business interests to be so opposed to Roosevelt, but he believed it was in his long-term financial interest, and he just firmly believed that liberalism was, the road to communism.